I used to avoid mirrors, not because I disliked my face, but because of what stared back at me from the top of my head. Gray strands, soft, wiry, and impossible to ignore, were spreading faster than I could hide them. Every time I caught a glimpse, it felt like a reminder that I was no longer young, at least not in the way the world seemed to define it. It wasn't that I believed gray hair was ugly. I'd seen countless women carry it beautifully, but on me, it felt like a betrayal. I tried every trick in the book: expensive dyes, endless touch-ups, even strategically styled hair to camouflage the silver. Still, no matter what I did, those stubborn grays came back stronger, almost as if they were daring me to stop fighting. Then one afternoon, something happened that I'll never forget. I was in line at a small cafe, distractedly scrolling through my phone, when a woman behind me tapped my shoulder. She smiled warmly and said, "I just have to tell you, your hair is stunning." For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. Stunning? My hair? I walked out of that cafe, wondering if she had been looking at someone else. But her words stuck with me, echoing louder than any criticism I'd ever given myself. That single moment lit a spark. For the first time, I asked myself, what if my gray hair wasn't something to hide? What if it could be my best feature? Over the weeks that followed, I began experimenting, not just with my hair, but with how I dressed, how I carried myself, and how I cared for my overall appearance. Slowly, the reflection in the mirror began to change, and so did the way I felt inside. And that's where this story truly begins. Because embracing my gray hair transformed more than my look. It changed my entire outlook on beauty, aging, and confidence. In the next part, I'll share the exact moment that shift became real. The moment that changed everything. It was a Saturday morning, the kind where you don't have anywhere urgent to be. I'd thrown on a soft cream sweater, a pair of jeans, and minimal makeup, just enough to feel put together. My hair, as usual, was in its default cover mode, pulled back loosely with the front strands framing my face to hide most of the gray. I wasn't planning on impressing anyone. My destination was the local farmer's market, a place I visited almost every weekend for fresh flowers and vegetables. The air smelled faintly of roasted coffee and baked bread. I remember holding a bundle of tulips when a vendor, an older gentleman with a friendly smile, paused mid-conversation and said, "You know, your hair catches the light beautifully." I laughed it off, thinking he was being polite. But as I walked to the next stall, I noticed a few people glancing at me, not in a judgmental way, but as if they were noticing something pleasant. I caught my reflection in a window, and for the first time, instead of seeing only the problem, I saw how the silver strands shimmered under the sunlight. There was a softness to them I hadn't appreciated before. That day didn't feel like a dramatic movie moment. It felt quiet, gentle. But it was enough to plant a seed in my mind. Maybe I had been so busy hiding my gray hair that I'd never given it a chance to speak for itself. When I got home, I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. I pulled my hair out of the loose tie and let it fall naturally. The gray didn't make me look tired. It made me look interesting, distinguished, even a little elegant. I remembered the woman from the cafe and the vendor's kind words, and I started to wonder if they were seeing something I couldn't see yet. Over the next week, I tried an experiment. I stopped coloring my roots and instead focused on nourishing my hair. Deep conditioning treatments, gentle brushing, and soft waves that framed my face. I paired my natural hair with outfits that felt a little more refined: jewel-toned blouses, silk scarves, a touch of lipstick. Each time I stepped out, I noticed a shift. The compliments didn't stop. In fact, they became more frequent. The realization hit me. The issue had never been my hair. It had been my perspective. My gray wasn't a flaw to erase. It was a feature I could style, enhance, and own. That's when I decided to stop fighting the inevitable and start embracing it. But if I was going to do that, I needed to learn how to make my gray hair look as vibrant and stylish as possible, and that's exactly what I discovered next. Making gray hair look chic, not old. The first thing I realized about gray hair is this: it tells its own story. Every strand is a chapter, every shimmer is a piece of your journey. But just like a beautiful vintage dress, it needs the right care and styling to shine. Left unattended, gray hair can lose its luster and look flat. But with a little intention, it can be the most elegant accessory you own. One of the easiest upgrades I made was getting a cut that gave my hair movement and shape. For years, I kept my hair in a safe shoulder-length bob, thinking it was practical. But the truth was, it was doing nothing for my face. My stylist suggested adding soft, face-framing layers that moved when I walked. Suddenly, my hair didn't just sit there, it came alive. If you have naturally wavy hair, a layered cut can enhance that texture beautifully. And for straight hair, a precision cut with clean edges can make your silver look sleek and modern. Then there's the shine factor. Gray hair naturally has a different texture than pigmented hair. It's often drier and more porous, which can make it look dull. The solution? Hydration, hydration, hydration. I started using a deep, moisturizing mask once a week and swapped harsh shampoos for gentle, sulfate-free formulas. And here's my secret weapon: a purple toning shampoo used every other week to keep brassy or yellow tones away. That cool, silvery glow. It's not an accident, it's maintenance. Of course, style is about more than the cut and the care. It's about the confidence in how you wear it. I began experimenting with ways to frame my face, tucking one side behind my ear with a statement earring, adding soft waves for special outings, or sleek low buns for evenings out. Each style told a different story, sometimes playful, sometimes powerful, always intentional. But the transformation wasn't just physical. As my hair started to look better, I noticed how my outfits began to evolve too. Jewel tones like sapphire, emerald, and deep burgundy made my silver strands pop. Crisp white shirts looked cleaner, more expensive against the gray. Even my makeup shifted, a slightly bolder lip, a bit more definition in the brows, to balance the softer tones of my hair. The best part? The more I leaned into my gray hair, the more I heard from other women. Strangers stopped me to ask how I kept it so vibrant. Friends who had been coloring their hair for decades began to consider letting their silver show. I realized I wasn't just making my hair look chic. I was changing how people thought about aging. Still, hair and style go hand in hand. Even the most beautiful hair can be overshadowed if the wardrobe doesn't complement it. And that's where the next step in my journey came in: discovering how to dress in a way that made my gray hair the ultimate style statement. Fashion that works with, not against, gray hair. Once my hair started to feel like an asset instead of a liability, I realized something important: style doesn't end at the hairline. The right clothing can turn gray hair from a quiet detail into a powerful fashion statement. And the wrong clothing? Well, it can wash you out, make you look tired, or completely overshadow the beauty of your silver strands. The first shift I made was with color. Gray hair has a cool undertone, which means certain shades make it glow, while others make it look dull. Jewel tones became my best friends: rich sapphire blues, deep emerald greens, regal purples, and bold ruby reds. These colors didn't just flatter my hair, they made my skin look brighter and more even. On the other hand, beige, dusty browns, and overly muted pastels drained all the life out of my look. I learned quickly: if the color makes your face light up in the mirror, it's worth wearing. Crisp white was another discovery. Against my gray hair, a pure white blouse or blazer looked sharp, expensive, and intentional. Black still had its place, but I found pairing it with a vibrant accessory, like a colorful scarf or statement necklace, kept it from feeling too severe. Fabric choice mattered more than I expected. Soft, flowing silks and cashmeres created a sense of sophistication, while structured cottons and wools added a polished edge. Texture became a way to add depth to my outfits. A chunky knit sweater in a bold color could make a casual day feel cozy yet chic, especially with silver hair peeking out beneath a matching beret. Accessories played a surprisingly big role too. Statement earrings brought attention to my face and framed my hair beautifully. Long necklaces helped elongate my silhouette, and scarves, especially in rich patterns, added an instant touch of elegance. And glasses? The right pair of frames can transform your entire presence. I chose bold shapes and deep colors to contrast my hair, and they became conversation starters everywhere I went. The biggest mindset change was letting go of the idea that dressing appropriately after a certain age meant fading into the background. Gray hair has a natural elegance, and your wardrobe should honor that. Bold prints, strong lines, and luxurious textures can make you look not only stylish, but unforgettable. And here's the magic. Once your clothes and hair work together, people stop seeing them as separate elements. They see you, a complete, confident, cohesive presence. Compliments start to sound different. Instead of, "I like your hair," you hear, "You look amazing." That shift in language reflects the shift in how you carry yourself. Still, even the most perfectly paired fashion can fall flat if your hair isn't healthy and vibrant. And that's where my next transformation came in, learning exactly how to care for gray hair so it looks radiant every single day. The secrets to keeping gray hair healthy and youthful. Here's the truth most people don't tell you. Gray hair has a completely different personality than the hair you grew up with. It's not just about color. The texture changes, the porosity changes, and even the way it reflects light changes. That's why the products and routines that worked for you at 40 may suddenly leave your hair looking dull and lifeless at 60. If you want gray hair that radiates health and elegance, it needs a new kind of care. The first key is moisture. Gray hair tends to be drier because as pigment fades, the scalp produces less natural oil. That's why I swapped my lightweight conditioners for richer, more nourishing formulas. Once a week, I use a deep conditioning mask and let it sit for at least 15 minutes. It's like giving my hair a drink of water after a long, hot day. It instantly feels softer, smoother, and more manageable. The second is tone. If you've ever seen gray hair turn yellowish or brassy, you know how quickly it can age your look. My secret weapon is a purple toning shampoo, used about once every week or two. It neutralizes those warm tones and restores that cool silver glow that looks so fresh and polished. But I never overdo it. Too much can make hair look flat or lavender instead of luminous. Gentleness is just as important. I stopped aggressive brushing and switched to a wide-tooth comb for detangling. I also use a microfiber towel to dry my hair. Cotton towels can cause friction, leading to frizz and breakage. And when I style, I keep heat low and always apply a thermal protectant first. Nutrition plays a role too. Hair health starts from the inside. I began incorporating more omega-3 rich foods like salmon and walnuts, along with leafy greens and plenty of water. Not only did it help my hair shine, but I noticed my skin looked better too. Styling choices can also make gray hair look more youthful. Adding soft waves can give it movement and dimension, while a sleek blowout can make it look modern and intentional. And never underestimate the power of a professional gloss treatment. It seals the hair cuticle and reflects light in a way that instantly elevates your look. Most importantly, I learned that healthy hair isn't just about the products, it's about the ritual. Taking the time to care for my hair became an act of self-respect. It wasn't vanity, it was self-investment. The more I nurtured it, the more it rewarded me by looking vibrant and alive. And with my hair looking the best it had in years, something even more powerful began to shift. My confidence wasn't just about how I looked, it was about how I felt. Which brings us to the most unexpected lesson of all. Embracing your gray hair isn't really about hair at all. The confidence transformation. When I first started this journey, I thought it was all about fixing my hair. I believed that if I could just make my gray look acceptable, I'd feel better about myself. But something unexpected happened. As my hair began to look healthier and more stylish, I noticed a deeper shift, not in my reflection, but in how I carried myself. I stood taller, I made more eye contact, I didn't avoid photos anymore. And the biggest change? I stopped apologizing for how I looked. For years, I had been hiding behind box dyes, scarves, and quick excuses like, oh, I need to get my hair done. Now I found myself actually tucking my hair behind my ears so people could see it. Confidence, I realized, isn't just about appearance, it's about authenticity. When you stop fighting a natural part of yourself, you create space to celebrate it instead. That freedom is magnetic. People can feel it before they even figure out why they're drawn to you. Something interesting began to happen in conversations. Instead of talking about how to hide aging, I found myself talking about how to wear it, how to choose clothes, makeup, and hairstyles that highlight the beauty of maturity. Friends started asking me for tips. Strangers complimented not just my hair, but my entire look. Even my posture and voice seemed different, stronger, yet softer. And here's what truly surprised me. Embracing my gray hair didn't make me feel older. It made me feel younger. Not in the sense of pretending to be 30 again, but in the sense of having a fresh energy, a renewed spark. I no longer wasted mental space worrying about covering up or passing for younger. That energy went into enjoying my life, trying new things, and saying yes to opportunities without hesitation. This transformation also deepened my relationships. My friends saw me living more boldly, and it gave them permission to do the same. Some of them began their own gray hair journeys, while others simply stopped obsessing over little things they had been hiding. We all agreed aging didn't have to mean fading away. When I think back to that first day in the cafe, when a stranger called my hair stunning, I realize it wasn't just a compliment. It was a reminder that sometimes other people can see our beauty long before we're ready to believe it ourselves. By the time I fully embraced my silver hair, I understood this. Confidence is the most elegant thing you can wear, and it never goes out of style. And that's why this journey isn't ending here. Because the final lesson I learned is one I wish I had known decades ago. When you honor yourself exactly as you are, everything else falls into place. Which brings me to the closing chapter of this story. Conclusion. When you love yourself, everything changes. When I think about the woman who once hated her gray hair, I see someone who was trying so hard to fit into a version of beauty that didn't belong to her anymore. She was chasing a moving target, believing that youth was the only way to be seen. What she didn't know, what I didn't know, was that the most powerful kind of beauty doesn't come from erasing time. It comes from wearing your years with pride. Gray hair didn't just change my style, it changed my life. It taught me that elegance isn't about perfection, it's about authenticity. The silver strands I once saw as a flaw are now my favorite feature, not because they're trendy or fashionable, but because they tell my story. They remind me of every laugh, every challenge, every moment I've lived through and grown from. And here's the thing, this isn't just about hair. It's about the freedom that comes when you stop apologizing for who you are. When you choose to show up as yourself without hiding or shrinking, the world responds differently. You stand taller. You speak with more certainty. You take up space in a way that feels natural, not forced. If there's one thing I hope you take from my journey, it's this. Aging is not a problem to solve. It's a privilege to embrace. Whether you decide to wear your hair silver, blonde, red, or any shade in between, the real transformation comes when you look in the mirror and like what you see, not because it's flawless, but because it's you. So as you go about your day, I encourage you to see your reflection differently. Find one thing to love and let that love grow. And if you've enjoyed this journey with me, I'd love for you to join me for the next one. because in my next video, I'll be sharing 5 elegant hairstyles that make silver hair look instantly chic. After all, the best is yet to come.